Isn't it funny that when we see a little kid or a dog running around, we say, "Oh, he's gonna sleep good tonight." But when it comes to ourselves, we wake up, sit down for breakfast, sit down to drive to work, sit down for 8 hours at work with a break, of course, to sit down for lunch, sit down, drive home, and then sit down for dinner and maybe watch TV on the couch for a couple hours. The problem with sitting down for 6 to 14 hours a day is that in the short term, it makes us stiff, weak, probably anxious and depressed, and in the long term, very reliably shortens our lives. The good news is there's lots of easy ways to get more movement into your day, even without taking breaks from work. And the movement doesn't need to be strenuous to counteract the harms of sitting down all day. It just needs to be regular. I would encourage you to get up and start moving a little bit right now. There are a ton of movements that you can do while still maintaining 99% of your focus on whatever you're watching or reading. But first, is sitting down really that bad? You may have heard that sitting is the new smoking. Is that really comparable? Let's look at the science. A 2017 study of 8,000 US adults and a 2024 study of almost 500,000 Taiwan adults found that people who sat more were more likely to die during the course of the study, even when controlling for other risk factors. This 2016 meta-analysis found consistent evidence linking the sedentary lifestyle to an increased risk for earlier death. They found that more time sedentary meant higher odds of metabolic syndrome, which kind of just a fancy phrase for being really unhealthy, even when moderate to vigorous physical activity, MVPA, was accounted for. Which means that hitting the gym for an hour or two every morning is not going to counteract all the harmful effects of excessive sitting. You wouldn't chug a gallon of water in the morning and be like, "That's all the water I need for today." And to reap the benefits of moving your body, you need to move throughout the day. A new study from Columbia University aimed to find the least amount of physical activity required to offset the harms of excessive sitting. These researchers recommend that you avoid sitting for more than 25 minutes straight and break up every half hour of sitting with just 5 minutes of very light movement, even less than I'm doing now. They walked on a treadmill at less than 2 miles an hour and saw reductions in blood glucose spikes as well as lower blood pressure, both of which are very important indicators of overall health, and less fatigue and better mood, which are very important for productivity. They also found that the groups who took walking breaks performed better on cognitive tests throughout the day. So if you're worried that taking frequent breaks will harm your productivity, please realize that stillness will harm your productivity if your work requires brain function. Employers know that healthy workers are more productive. That's why they subsidize gym memberships and exercise equipment. So why do they give smoke breaks throughout the day but not movement breaks? If 2 5-minute movement snacks per hour doesn't sound feasible, in this video I have some tips for how to work more movement into your workday without taking breaks, some hacks to help with motivation, and some movements you can do anywhere, anytime, even if you're very tired and don't feel like moving. In general, stillness is the enemy. The first step is to find movements that you enjoy doing and are easy enough to do even when you're tired. I find that no matter how tired I am, I can always do this, and usually when I do, I want to add more movement and maybe rotate into split squats and do some yoga style movements, but it depends on you, on your body. For me, I grew up skateboarding and playing baseball, so these sort of like single leg swings are very natural for me. But if your thing is wrestling, maybe you warm up like this. There's no such thing as a bad movement unless you hurt yourself. You need to enjoy the movement if you want to make it a long-term habit, and you should see a mindset shift pretty quickly. Like, instead of thinking, "Oh, I can't believe I left that thing in the other room, I have to walk and go get it," or "Oh, I can't believe I have to make my bed," or "Oh, all the good parking spaces are taken." Just think about those as opportunities to move more. I find chores way less annoying when I just think about them as ways to move. And sometimes I even park further away on purpose just to get extra steps in. Speaking of which, your phone is probably already tracking your steps, so you can easily gamify this and try to beat your high score. You can also start a challenge with your friends to do a certain amount of steps per day and hold each other accountable. A little friendly competition can go a long way with fitness goals. Set up your space in a way that encourages movement snacks at home and in the office. I mean, this is my living room right here, it looks like a freaking playground. When I have this stuff in plain sight, I take more breaks to move. I also get work done at the climbing gym or the park if it's nice out. Your phone is a hotspot, so if you work remote, you don't need to sit down at a cafe for the Wi-Fi. You can work from anywhere. Try to do 15 minutes of walking or movement first thing in the morning, especially outdoors, because getting early morning sunlight will help set your circadian rhythm and make it easier to sleep at night. Look at children for inspiration. Children love to run around and play, and they can squat perfectly. Most Americans can't squat with their heels on the ground. This is how half the world goes to the bathroom. In half of the places on Earth, if you can't do this comfortably, you would need to buy a handicapped toilet. Let's say you hate all that advice and you don't want to take any breaks from work. There are actually a bunch of ways to move more without taking breaks at all. If you don't need to be at a computer screen for your phone calls, take those phone calls on a walk. And instead of meeting with someone face to face, why not meet side to side and just walk somewhere? Use a sit-to-stand desk. A sit-to-stand converter for your current desk is not only cheaper than a full replacement, but you can take it off your desk and work on the floor in way more positions than just sitting or standing. Prone position is particularly useful to get your spine extending. Moving your screen to eye level or above can also help with this, as well as choosing a bigger screen. Doing work on your phone will tether you to that small screen. Sometimes I catch myself doing stuff on my phone that I could be doing on a bigger screen. My arms are stuck and stiff. If you work on a bigger screen, you have more freedom to move. Standing on some sort of board or platform that allows for movement is also helpful. You don't want something that's difficult to stand on when you're working because it will distract you. Linked below in the description are a bunch of options that are easy to stand on without effort, but then allow or encourage movement when you want to move. And maybe provide some sort of foot massage or foot exercise. There's also various massage tools linked below that I use every day. And finally, use a chair that encourages different seating positions. There are a lot of chairs out now with a wobbly base to encourage movement and force you to engage your core. I'm not a huge fan of using these all day, particularly if they are soft and high in the middle, because that shifts your body weight onto your pelvic floor instead of your sit bones, which support your weight on a flatter, harder surface. I think it is much better to have a chair that allows for significant variation in positions than to have a wobbly chair, especially if you can take weight off the pelvis and extend the hips. Personally, I really like kneeling chairs that shift your weight off of your pelvis into your feet and knees. I think these cross-legged yoga chairs are probably the best office chair you could buy. They used to be $400 for some reason, but linked below they are currently $169.99 with free shipping. By the way, if you ever want something on Amazon for cheaper, just paste the URL into camelcamelcamel.com. They will track the price and email you if it drops below a certain price. In the next couple of years, I'm going to start designing and making my own chairs that are way more adjustable and allow for dozens of different positions. There's honestly nothing on the market even remotely close to what I think would be a good office chair, so eventually I'm going to make my own, just like I did with the flip-flop. Try all these tips out and let me know what you think. Linked below are a ton of tools that I use every day to keep myself healthy and active. Buying through those links is the best way to support this channel. And remember, stillness is the enemy.